So good morning, everyone. It's a very cold and frosty morning in Dorset today, and I know it has hit us all. So I do hope you're all managing to keep safe and warm. So this is the last virtual career chat of 2022. I can't believe we've actually got to the end of a year or nearly. But I am delighted today to have two of our previous candidates, and in fact, at one point, a mentor and mentee, who are going to share the world of a health and safety advisor. So we have HS2 JV, SB3, and home building group Vistry. So I hope you have something warm in hand. Sit back and enjoy. Over to you, Angela.
Great, thank you. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our virtual chat. I'm Angela Forbes, and it is a pleasure to welcome you on what is the most beautiful of winter's mornings here. And I think from Robbie Burns as well, the wintry west extends his blast, and hail and rain does blaw, or the stormy north sends driving forth the blinding sleet and snow. So, and a case in point there, so snow is expected. So get those sledges out, let that inner child be released, or just scalp someone you don't like with a snowball, whatever suits you. Right, so back to this morning. So now as you are transitioning, we have this timetable of virtual career chats to help you navigate your way through the careers in construction. So this morning our chat will be brilliantly delivered by two incredible veterans, and to hear more about health and safety and what that looks like in our industry, we will hear from Richard Whitehouse from SB3. So that's a joint venture on HS2 between Baccy Saltange and Balfour Beatty Ground Engineering. And we will also hear from David Duncan from Vistry. So without further ado, I'll hand over to our first speaker, Richard, and we'll switch our cameras off, Richard.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you for that introduction. I'm not too sure you're fully correct how amazing we are, but we'll see it by the end of it. Good morning, all. Very happy to be here today talking to you all. Obviously, the introduction alluded to that I've myself have been in your position. I've been sat where you are, and you know it can be quite daunting at first, and depending on where you are in your resettlement or where you are in your careers. I'm just going to talk a little bit about my journey on how I've come to my position to this point. So a little bit of background on myself. I was in the Royal Air Force Regiment for 22, well, coming up to 22 years. I am still currently serving. I'm still in my resettlement on my terminal leave, and I'll be leaving in February in full. So yeah, we started the journey back in 2020, post-COVID, where we had quite a few restrictions on getting onto courses, especially classroom courses and things like that. So I managed to get in at the right time where the classroom courses reopened. So you know, I was able to get the one-to-one training that you do need, rather than the e-learning that the options are. So why did I join health and safety? So for myself, I started looking into health and safety when I took on the job role when I was in the military for Barrack Block Custodian, Fire Risk Assessments, Fire Safety Manager at RAF Cosford. It was a secondary duty, which ended up being my primary duty at one point because it was that busy. So the interest started there. I had a colleague also who was looking into the industry as well, so we bounced off each other very well. He started his journey about 12 months prior, so I was able to grab as much information from him and knowledge that he was gaining at the same time. So my first step was to look at what qualifications I wanted to do. So the base lane qualification, you know, for me when I was looking at was the NEBOSH General Certificate. I took part in a 2-week classroom course with a company where we sat down. Tutor was really good, very engaging, which is what you need. after the course, I seeked advice on what I needed to do. I mean, when you're in the military, you don't have that experience, you don't have that interaction within the health and safety world unless you're in that industry. So what I did was I got in touch with Billforce themselves through a colleague who put me through to Caroline and Angela, and they managed to get me onto an apprenticeship with Vistry Group, who you'll see David Duncan. You'll hear from David Duncan afterwards. He's part of the Vistry Group, Bovis Homes, Linden Homes, and I went on from there. The apprenticeship was good. I was using my GRT, which you can get through your resettlement, so your leave that you get through resettlement, and I was going on site with the team maybe 2 or 3 times a month. I did have to use a bit of annual leave to top my days up on site. So I was going on site with the advisors, with the manager, about 2 or 3 times a month. I locked on to David, who's the next speaker I've alluded to, where he became my mentor through the health and safety through construction. Now, construction wasn't at the forefront of my mind before that, but the exposure I got through the house building companies and things like that really pushed me on to try and succeed in getting a job role within construction itself. At the end of the apprenticeship, unfortunately, there wasn't any job roles for me at that point. So I carried on looking at what I could do, whether it be through principal design, construction companies, etc. About 8 months before I was due to leave, 8 to 10 months before I was due to leave, I went on to my career transition workshop, where if you haven't done that already or you're about to do it, I highly recommend it, as they concentrate on building your CV and building up what you need prior to going on to interviews, putting your CV out and things like that. What I will say is with your CV and things like that, within the military itself, the soft skills you gain are unteachable. Okay, you can't buy that on a course. You can't go to certain companies and gain that experience. The soft skills you'll gain from your life in the military, the exposure you've had, whether it be overseas, on training courses, within the units themselves, are very, very important to going through into Vistry itself. The process from that point onwards was to gain my experience through Vistry and get it down on paper to suggest what I'd done, and it just gives you a bit more background knowledge on the construction industry and what people expect from you itself. So I put my CV out to a few companies. I got an interview back, and interview went very well. They were very impressed, and I managed to gain a second interview. Unfortunately, the day before the second interview, they phoned me up and cancelled it because they wanted to promote somebody within the company itself. And to be honest, silver linings, it definitely, because the day of that second interview was an insight day down at HS2 down in Kenilworth. So I kept my day's leave that was in for the interview, and I went down to HS2 for the insight day, where there was numerous joint ventures and companies who work with HS2 had their stalls out. So if you do have chance to go to one of these, please do. All right, if it's something you're very, very interested in doing. Ironically, the first stand I went to was the company I'm now working for, which is Vistry Solidanchi Ground Engineering. Bloke called Robert Izzard, who was on the recruitment stand, and I just gave him a printout of my my CV, and I emailed one over to him there and then, And then through the rest of the day, I just went to different stands, just seeing what they were expecting and things like that. By the end of the insight day, Robert Izzard pulled me to one side and said, the health and safety guys want to have a chat, and we went on from there. So it sounds very fast paced, but at the same time very nerve wracking and a lot of limbo on what I was going to do. I mean, the main thing for me was to be able to give myself enough time and opportunity to examine exactly what I wanted to do and what companies were out there and what was best fit for me, really. But with HS2 itself, you know, I don't know whether you've seen it on the news or whether you understand the project itself. It's a huge project. It spans from London all the way up through Birmingham, and then it's going up towards Liverpool itself on the second phase. There is numerous job opportunities there. I'm on one small sublot of about 50 sublots across the project at the moment, and it's increasing rapidly. So from the insight day to my interview process was within a few weeks. So I managed to prep myself accordingly for the interview and went down to the IM building in Coleshill, Birmingham, and sat down with now my two managers and had well, you'd say it was a formal chat because it'd been an interview, but it became informal, very relaxed. And their main interest for me was my military background and what I'd done in the military itself, and of course the apprenticeship and the experience I gained through Vistry outweighed any qualifications that were on my CV at the time. Yes, I'd done my general certificate. I'd passed that. I'd gone and got my CSCS card, and things like that, which gave a few points towards opening doors and things like that. But your soft skills, your transferable skills that you've got through management courses, things depending on what rank you are at the time and things like that, you'll be able to gain your management leadership courses. That's the kind of things they're looking for. Not so much your doing your degree in health and safety or doing different health and safety courses. They're looking for what you can bring to the company, what transferable skills can you make their company better. They can put you on courses, they can put you through what courses they want you to do. But for me, your ground-based course for me would be, if you want to go to the construction industry, because NEBOSH has changed now. So NEBOSH, you've got your NEBOSH general certificate, which everybody says, oh, that's your base layer. You can now do your NEBOSH construction, which is the same qualification. But if you want to go into the construction industry, it is the better one. Now, if someone had told me that back before I started, I would have not done my general certificate. I would have gone and done my NEBOSH construction, because you can gain your white CSCS card immediately with that course, and you don't have to jump through so many hoops if you've only just got your general. For me, coming up March, I'll be starting my second year of my level 6 MVQ in health and safety. At the moment, it's going very slowly because I haven't got a lot of time to do it at the moment due to work. But I've been told by my work they're going to put a couple of days a month to side where I can solely focus on that. The company itself, so Bashi Solidanci, they're a ground engineering company who are a joint venture within HS2 itself. So the main PC for the HS2 is Belfer Viti Vinci. So that's the main company that work for HS2, and then you've got joint ventures like for my company themselves and other companies, Belfer Viti as well, that come off that. but we all work together as one team. You know, there's a lot of like with any business, there's a little infights and things like that. You do this, you do that. No, I don't want to do this. But in general, it's a very good company to work for, and they do look after you. It's a very competitive salary. It's good pension, healthcare, company car, fuel paid for, all things like that, depending where you're traveling from. If you're working, let's say, if you live in London, but the work's up in Birmingham, they'll pay for your accommodation during the week, and then they'll pay for your travel up and down at the beginning of the week and the end of the week itself. For me at the moment, where do I sit in the company? So I'm a health and safety advisor with the company. I look after one sublot. So at the moment, I'm looking after 6 sites. But I've been told this week it'll be moving up to about 10 sites come January, February, and probably increase on that. But with small sites within the project itself, they can last up to 8 weeks. So one site closes, then another site's open. So it's a constant rolling project itself. Within day-to-day work, so each site gets an inspection each week. So you can imagine there's only 5 days in the week, and I've got 6 sites at the moment. So at the moment, I'm doubling up on days, and then having to do meetings in between that. So it is a hectic week. It's a lot. It is a crammed work schedule, but it's rewarding at the same time. If you're used to a fast-paced work ethic, it could be right up your alley. Within the inspections themselves, you have target inspections, so things you want to target on, whether it be fire, whether it be permits and things like that, which I'm probably talking a bit alien to you at the moment. I apologise, but it is a really good project to be on, really good company, and I've been with them since October. So I'm on my probation period at the moment. So my probation period lasts 6 months. But the work they're giving me, I'm surmising that I've passed my probation already. Knock on wood that I don't do anything stupid, which I hope I won't. I commute from Wolverhampton. At the moment, I'm currently down in Sublot 2, which is in between Birmingham and Coventry. So it takes me about 50 minutes in the morning, then an hour back in the evening. But I don't mind the commute. It gives me a bit of rest time before I have to go back to 2 screaming kids. So it's quite relaxing in the car itself. I think for me that is all. I mean, I'll answer as many questions as I can at the end, and I hope that's been a bit insightful. Obviously, my lead up itself, the transition from the RAF to where I am now is still ongoing, obviously, because I'm still in the military. But my head is fully out the military now, if you can imagine that. I'm solely focused on the job itself. And if you're anything like me and you're coming up to your last year, you just want to leave it itself and get into a really good job. So hopefully I can answer your questions at the end, and look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Richard, that was fantastic. Thank you very much. And I'll pass straight to David. Hi, David.
Hi, Angela. Thank you. Thanks, Richard. Cheers, mate. Hi, everyone. I'm David Duncan. I'm Vistry Group SHE advisor. My journey into health and safety construction, a little bit less prepared than Richard's. I was ex-infantry in the army for 7 years. Unfortunately, I was injured in Afghanistan, which led to me being medically discharged. And that was one of my drives to get into health and safety. As Richard alluded to, it can be quite academically heavy. So when you're looking at pursuing a career in health and safety, you can think, where do I start? How do I get on from here? What courses do I need to do? Do I need to do everything right now before I start applying? But again, as Richard said, it all comes down to your personable skills, how you interact with people, and your experiences that you can take with you or bring with you from your time in the service. So I originally started my health and safety courses. I started the general NEBOSH, like Richard said, And then I had no experience. I had just my time in the military, assault pioneer, reconnaissance, a couple of operational tours, humanitarian tours, etc. And I was like, how can I convert my work experience, my life experience, onto a CV, onto 2 pieces of A4 pieces of paper, and get myself into construction, which is, or it seemed to be, a completely alien environment for myself. And I actually went to a Build Force Insight Day in February 2020, a month before COVID kicked off. So I went there in Manchester. It was great. Met a couple of people there from different industries within construction. Started to get my CVs out. Again, very difficult, and I'll be completely honest with you. When I first started that journey to get into health and safety, to get into construction, I didn't know what it was. I just wanted to help people. I was injured at work. I didn't want people to get injured at work. So I was like, how can I do that? So when I was going into those first impressions with other companies, I just didn't know where to go. I had no topic. I had no experience to come from. And from that Insight Day with Build Force, unfortunately, we went into lockdown about a month later. So that's when I just used my time to just get into the studying. So we had the distance learning that became available. So I just went straight into it. So the first lockdown was 6 to 8 weeks from memory. I just got straight onto e-learning courses, banged out as many as I could over that short period of time, kept in touch with Caroline. Over the coming months, COVID started to ease off a little bit. Construction was only stopped for 3 weeks. So once construction started to get going, the restrictions got easier for everybody. I was placed on furlough by my employer. I carried on doing my studies. I actually got in touch with Caroline, and Caroline managed to sort me a work placement with HE Sim on a project in Manchester. So I managed to actually, during furlough, during the lockdown, get out onto construction sites and build up that work experience. So I was doing 3 to 4 days a week on site, then the 3 to 4 days a week studying over the weekends, etc. I did that for a couple of weeks. That first work placement didn't work out as good as I hoped. So got in touch with Caroline, just explained, I'm not it's not working out for me, this particular one. Is this something else we can maybe arrange? And then I got very fortunate with the next one. So we managed to get myself a work placement and set me up with a mentor with Weights Group. So over the next 5 to 6 months in 2020, I was going out to site 1-2 times a week with a senior advisor from Weights Group whilst doing my studies to build up my work experience. And it gets even crazier. So I managed to do unfortunately, I would have got a job with Weights, but there was none going at the time. So when I was doing all my academic studies, I started to get my results coming through because I had my real life experience out on site that day that I could then use for my use for my exams, use for my diploma, use for my case studies. So real life experiences that I've done that day, I could put it all together on paper, submit it, get my results back. Once I started to achieve that experience over those couple of months and my qualifications started to come through the door, my opportunities started to get wider. So at the beginning, I was applying for jobs and getting absolutely nothing. 3-4 months down the line, I was getting to the interview stage, but not progressing by the interviews. 6-7 months of experience and persistence. When I was getting into those interviews, they could see, yes, I don't have that 5 years experience, but I've got that will and drive to go forward. This, I'm showing you that I want to learn. So through networking, getting my experience with Weights, unfortunately, again, no job available at the time, which was absolutely fine. I met someone that was working at Vistry on LinkedIn. They were near where I live at home, and I was I managed to arrange a short work placement with them, again through Buildforce. So we got out onto site. I managed to do 2 weeks with them, every day, 5 days a week out on site. Again, pure coincidence. They were leaving Vistry, and that opened up a she advisor role. So then I was in that position where I've shown my worth. I've got my diploma now. I've got my hands-on experience from different areas. You know, I've been working really hard for the last 8-9 months, showing you that I want to be a health and safety advisor. And I was building those good relationships out on site with your site managers, in office with the directors, the managing directors, the construction director, technical directors, commercial, etc. Building those relationships already, that they were forgetting that I've not been an advisor for 5 years. I've only been an advisor for 6-7 months at that time. As Anthony was leaving Vistry, I managed to get an interview, secure the interview. You know, did really well in the interview, did really well on my 2-week placement with Vistry, and then fortunately was offered a job as safety advisor. I've been with Vistry now for just over 2 years. We do quite a lot throughout the country. So if you ever seen Bovis, Linden or Vistry partnerships, that's Vistry Group. We had recently purchased countryside partnerships. So Vistry have bought the entire business. So from the 3rd of January next year, we're going to be the biggest house builder in the country by volume, delivering approximately 20,000 homes per annum. We do a mixture of affordable homes to completely new builds. We do greenfield, brownfield. So we do environments that have never been built on before. We go into city centres where there's a lot of hazards and risk available in those areas. We are getting bigger. So we go all the way from the southwest of England to the northeast. With the recent acquisition of Countryside, we are now going into Wales a little bit. We've got timber frame manufacturing facilities. We've got ongoing remedial works with cladding on pre-existing projects. We've got infrastructure with Countryside. We've got huge jobs and stuff going in London with Vistry partnerships currently. The one thing I find about my role in construction is every day is different. As Anna Richards says, you're quite, if you've come from a high-driven performance background, you're not micromanaged. You're given KPIs to hit and achieve weekly and monthly. As long as you can manage your time and workload appropriately, you're left to your own devices. So you've got key things that you need to do every month. Every site needs to get a scored visit, so they need to get an inspection that's recorded formally. But you're encouraged to be out on site, shown and heard as best as possible, build them relationships with the site teams and subcontractors. I've not been into the office for 3-4 months. We're building up, we're getting quicker to the year end. So they want you out on site, they want you with those site managers planning for the high risk activities, the handover of premises for when people move in or clients take over control. We've got a wide variety of stuff happening in the future. So it's not just health and safety advisors at the moment, but with going into construction, if you might find yourself wanting to get in health and safety, we are started to take on a bit more of the environment, and more responsibility with sustainability will happen in the future. So us as advisors at Vistry, we do safety, health, environment, soon to be sustainability, and we'll also, due to who we work with and for, we'll have to get into our ISO audits as well, which is a credibility for working for Homes England or other governmental departments. So if my day-to-day can range from setting up completely brand new sites, going to sites that are during construction, they could be at different phases. I can go from having sites, that are building 163 homes, timber frame construction with mobile or static tower cranes on there, to city centre Manchester, where we might have 2 or 3 static cranes building an assisted living unit complex that's got 110 bedrooms. And we've got a whole different plethora of concerns and risks that we need to take care of or help the managers look after when they're working in Manchester city centre, for example. But yeah, if anyone's got any questions about journeys, qualifications, opportunities, work placements, any questions at all about what you might or might not do with your resettlement process, for example. I got a deferred resettlement, so I got 10 years to use my LCAS credits. I know Richard used his during his resettlement process, but he was better planning than me. But yeah, if you've got any questions in the next half hour or so, just fire away and I'll help you as much as I can.
David, that was fantastic, as usual. Okay, if I could ask Richard to join us, and you were both very good, so stop being so humble, the two of you. Any questions, please type them in the box or raise your hand. You're more than welcome to join us for a chat. Caroline looks very snug there, so she's got her winter woolies on. So right, we'll start off with a couple of questions. Excuse me, I do have a sore throat, but I'll muster through. So Richard, a question to you. Thank you for kicking us off. David shared his kind of day-to-day experience, what his role looks like on a daily basis. What does yours look like? Does it sound similar?
Yeah, very similar. I mean, I haven't got as many sites as David has got. We've got pretty much the same kind of size team as David's got, but we are in we've got so many sublots, so we've got a team per area, if you know what I mean, along the project itself. So within the HS2 as well, you've got Vistry. They've got their own health and safety department, as well as us as well. I should have said that Vistry Solidarity, we're a subcontractor to Vistry. So we have our own health and safety team itself. So day to day, yeah, it's pretty much the same as David's really. I engage on site early morning, so I'm on site for the start of shift briefs at 7:30 in the mornings. I'm engaging with the workforce straight away to find out, if there's anything I need to know, or they're more comfortable telling me rather than their management, things like that. Having those, like I've said before, I've alluded to soft skills, being able to talk to people, trying to get information out of people, not information that you're going to get them in trouble so much, but information that we can help them more along on the site itself, and try and make that site as safe as possible. I do an inspection every day per site that I go to, whether it be a target inspection or a detailed site inspection. My management want me to do 2 a day on the same site, so a target inspection, site inspection, but it can get a bit too much. Over the past, since I've started, I've investigated 4 incidents recently, one being a Ridor incident. So I was thrown into the deep end. Fortunately enough, I've swam and not sank. But that's due to a good team around you and people that are going to help you when you start. I mean, don't get me wrong. When I started, I didn't just get thrown straight onto 6 sites. I shadowed someone for the first 2 weeks, and then I was given 2 sites for the first week, and then it's increased as it's gone along. But yeah, it's pretty much the same as David said. Day to day work on site, getting your feet dirty. It's not. I know I'm sat in an office now, but it's still freezing cold. If you suffer with the cold and things like that, I mean, you better wrap up warm, especially in the construction world.
So just a couple of things on what you said there. You mentioned Ridor. That's just a reportable incident back to
That's
HSC,
right.
isn't it?
That's
okay.
right, yeah.
So
yeah.
The other thing that you mentioned about your day-to-day activities is you mentioned you're on site. So you're just ensuring all the trades and everybody on site are working safely.
Yeah.
In terms of picking up what safety looks like on a building site, did you have previous experience in that space, or was that a skill you learned as you went?
So when it comes to safety on site, from my apprenticeship with Vistry and having David as my mentor, the transferables of that it's identical. Every site's got to have a safe walkway. Every plant's got to have, every machine's got to have exclusion zones. When there's open digs, you've got to have edge protection and things like that. So, from house building construction site to the HS2 sites are very, very similar.
Okay, so for anybody who is serving, whether it's in the Navy, the RAF, or the Army, or the Marines, if you don't have any construction experience, this is still a career path for them. Is that right?
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So I saw that one pop up in chat. So just give you an idea on my team makeup. So I'm ex-infantry, so I can barely read and write. And then I've got other members of the team that have come out of facilities management, travel, B&Q. We've got some, what's great? We've got some that have come from retail, that have gone from they just wanted a change of environment, gone through health and safety. And then because construction is so big and there's so many opportunities, that you get some foundations of health and safety. So when you get out onto site, like Richard said, the environment may be different, but the protection and regulations are very similar, if not the same, for everybody involved. So yeah, you don't need so much experience, more than the willingness to learn and the adaptability to that environment.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Absolutely.
Just what did aid you at the very start? Is there a particular skill or personality trait that you relied on most? Was it patience, the ability to learn and listen? Was it thinking on your feet? What did get you through those first initial months? I'll start with you, Richard.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think adapting to your environment is important. I mean, you can, if you work in a high intense area, honestly, your day-to-day work it's fast paced here. However, if you can imagine being in the military, it's fast paced for a few months and it slows down and then it picks up again. In the construction industry, it's fast paced throughout. So you've got to have that mentality of being in that environment, day to day. The transferables are your key communication skills. Communication is key throughout in construction. I mean, I can walk into I'll walk into a meeting and honestly, I still go into these meetings now and I don't know what they're talking about. Honestly, especially with ground engineering and things like that. I'm on a piling site at the moment. I'm learning all about piling on a daily basis. So, the machines out there, they're dangerous machines, but as health and safety, we're there to protect the workforce around those machines. And then as I go through the months, I'll learn more technical side of things as we go through. They're not expecting you to know everything straight away. They want you to make sure everyone's kept safe.
Okay, and something tickled David there. You're still learning as you go, David. You don't know it all yet.
Every day you're learning. So you've got to remember. So you've got engineers, you've got your builders, bricklayers, ground workers, joiners, etc. My role is to use their expertise on how do we achieve safety for everybody. So I don't go out and choose individuals on site. It's about how can we as a collective ensure that we meet our moral and legal obligations to make sure we all go home at the end of the day. So if like Richard would say, if you're dealing with piling, and there's a lot going on in a tight environment, the best people to work with and communicate with are you guys doing the piling. So what do you need help with to make sure we are all safe? And then I will make sure we've got the right resources and people and in the right place at the right time. You've got to have that confidence to speak up when you don't know what you should know or what you don't know. Common one I always say is you don't know what you don't know. So it's better to speak with people that are more experienced in that environment, and never be afraid to ask questions. Let's just pause for a moment and can we communicate and just talk through what's happening? Because to me right now, that doesn't look safe. So let's just take a minute right now. Let's have a look what's going on. Does anything need to be changed? No, let's proceed. So you'd rather have that 2-3 minute conversation now than have an accident or someone get injured later on. So it's having that confidence to speak up, challenge what maybe not be right, and then just be honest about your own abilities, really.
There's some great advice here, David. Caroline, a question to you. Just the theme and the importance of work placements is recurring this morning. So what should someone do if they're interested?
Yeah, I put in the chat box there, both David and Richard never had any construction background. And for both of them, it was those, those work placements. David was on a very long-term work placement. So was Richard. And that is where you get the sector experience. That is where you get the connections. And BBV, which is another HS2 joint venture in the Midlands, they're fantastic at getting you on site and then seeing if you fit that role, and there is a role there, they will get you in on that role. So it's a really good way to explore that discipline further, network with the company and also their supply chain. So I can't recommend a work placement enough. And Ian, I noticed you are registered with Billforce, so just give me a call and we'll make sure you can get that work placement in place. If you have got a mentor already with Billforce, reach out to them and say, look, can you get me on site? I know David's very good at doing that when he's mentoring. So there are many ways, but yeah, absolutely, we can definitely help you with the work placement.
Okay, thank you, Caroline. My question's come in from Nicholas. He's an RAF engineer, so he's soon to have NEBOSH under his belt, IOSH managing safely, and he's a risk assessor. Are there any other courses that you would recommend to him?
So this is where it gets crazy, Angela. So with your health and safety qualifications, there are many. All right, so your NEBOSH is your entry level qualification. So have general certificate, have construction, have fire, environment. They're all that's your first foundation to build on, and then your stepping stones going forward. It's easy to say go out and get all the health and safety qualifications, but there's cost, time, and it's not always going to get you a work placement, a job. Sorry. So Caroline, I've got all. The only thing I'm missing is a master's degree, and it couldn't get me a job interview. So I did all my qualifications, and I just couldn't get the job. But once I started to build up on my experience, and I could use the real life what I've done yesterday in my interview today, that could then help me a lot better, because what's written down in your textbooks, materials, etc., they're not prescriptive. It doesn't tell you how to do it safely. It just explains what the requirements are. So work placements, whether it be 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, getting out there, being able to communicate with people and using those life experiences will help you. So once you've got your foundation level degrees, NEBOSH General, NEBOSH Environment, IOSH Managing Safely, that will allow you to get your NEBOSH Construction will allow you to get your CSCS card, which gets you out on site for your work placements. From then, another tool in your arsenal is, if you've got LCAS available, use that to support you. Say, once you've got the interview, say I've got £1,000, £2,000 available to put towards training, instead of maybe possibly spending it on a course you don't need. Use the funds available as a weapon in your arsenal, and say, look, if I do get to come on board, etc., I've got these funds available that the military are going to help me get qualified later on down the line. Some of these courses, especially when you're studying your own time, they could take you 100, 130 hours. So it could take you a couple of weeks, couple of months to just even get completed. But if people are I'm just having a look through. So NEBOSH General, NEBOSH Construction, fire is a very niche area of health and safety. We will always go to a fire specialist. So because of what's happened with Grenfell, and rightly so, it's become a lot more legislative. So we need to make sure we have competent people help us with our fire risk assessments. Do you get that too, Richard, with you?
Yes, yeah. So
Yeah.
we get the competent person come onto sites to carry out that. I mean, I I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole with NEBOSH. Really, I jumped into it too quickly. What I should have, taken a step back and listened. Especially LinkedIn is a fantastic tool to talk to people in the industry and find out what they recommend, what qualifications for their company they're looking for, and things like that. I did my NEBOSH fire safety management course, and I'll be honest, I wish I never had done it. I think I wasted an LCAS doing it. Unless you're going to go into that industry, you can get pigeonholed on that. And within the interview process itself, I wasn't asked any questions about my NEBOSH fire at all. I've still not been asked anything about my NEBOSH fire. They're not interested in it in construction. So for me, I should have done my NEBOSH construction after my general, because the NEBOSH construction now is a separate qualification to your general. It gives you the same qualification, baseline qualification, as does the general. But for the construction industry, it's looked on better than the general itself. So if you do want to go into the construction industry, I highly recommend you do your NEBOSH construction above your general.
Okay, thanks for that, Richard. A couple of more questions that have come in. Stephen, I hope we've answered your question. David picked up on it there. He was asking about, you've got your NEBOSH construction, which you mentioned the importance of. Are there other courses, specialist courses, which would be better? But I think let's start with the NEBOSH construction, get your CSCS card, and then you've got your grounding, you're employable. And then at that point, if you want to go on and use your ELCs for anything else, you certainly can. Question came in from Tom, sorry, he's got 2 months left. He's leaving the Navy, no health and safety experience, but he is doing his NEBOSH General at the moment. Has he left it too late? You've never left it too late, Tom. Just get in touch and register with Caroline. We can Uber accelerate a placement whilst we're out in the job market with you, supporting you. So never too late. Richard and David are your on LinkedIn, so you've got your stalkers already if they haven't got in touch. We've got Jonathan, is the Royal Navy Risk Assessors course recognised outside?
It'll all be down to, so your courses and qualifications that you've done in service will all be down to who the accrediting body is. So it might just be named something different, but if it's got the accreditation, then that is what you can use out on Civvy Street when you go through interviews.
Yeah,
but
I think it usually has IOSH on the bottom of the certificate. Yeah. I think so. Try
again. It's me and Richard both fell foul of this. You look at health and safety qualifications. There are many. Get your entry level. Get your CSCS card so you can get out on site. And then when you are looking at jobs, have a look at the job requirements. Look at the essential and look at the desirable. So a lot of that is your personable skills, your experience, and an MVQ level 6 or an NEBOSH general or NEBOSH construction. So we've got the desirable skills. You can do the essentials, but try not get too focused on how many courses I can do, how much qualifications can I get, because you can learn that in work and achieve that in work. But yeah, I wasted so much time and money doing all that. Yeah.
Bless David.
Is there a question there? So Ian Davies, too. So you've passed your NEBOSH construction. Do you have to cut a separate assessment for you? Yes, you do. Yes. So you have to book on for your CITB managers and professionals course. It's a 50 question exam, but what I recommend is what I did. I download the app. I think you have to pay £6.99 for the app, and you just go through all the mock questions on there and exams, and before you know it, you'll get the test and you'll ace the test. So that test, I think it costs you £20 odd. I think something like that. You go to your nearest test centre where they usually do driving tests and things like that. You go and do that, and then they'll give you a certificate. You go onto the CITB website, and then the CSCS website with the with the code that you get given on your test paper or your results paper, and then you apply for your CSCS card through that.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Richard. St. Clair, good morning to you. So lovely to see that you've joined this morning. We inducted you yesterday. You're asking what advice to get you going. So you've been inducted. Your notes are with the team. We'll pick it up. We've got a good, strong CV with you. And Caroline, I'll uber accelerate that process because I know that you've left just in the last 9 days. Similar question there from John Hall as well. You're leaving, a bit lost. What do? Just get registered with us and we'll kick off a process with you, John. So whether that's just getting you some work experience or a site visit or a chat on site with your mentor, it gives you content to talk about at an interview. We'll review the CV with you just to make sure it's good and strong and gets your foot in the door. We'll do all the interview prep with you as well, so that when you do get there and you're looking at the whites of their eyes, you're good to go. So we'll start that process, John. So just register with us. I think Caroline's put the link there in terms of what to do. Another question that had come in actually at a more senior level, if I could just find it, somebody was asking what opportunities are available at kind of more head office management policy level. So what would the roles be above you? What does your boss's role look like, David?
So we've now got a big hierarchy due to the three companies coming together across Vistry Group. Now, you get into writing policy, you're going to be looking at 20-25 years experience in health and safety. We've got within Vistry, we've got members of the veteran community at all levels throughout, whether it be myself as an advisor all the way up to director, our CEO of Vistry Group and CEO of house building. Vistry Group's a signed on covenant, but they're hugely behind supporting veterans massively. There are opportunities there, but it would be quite difficult to go straight into without having that experience. As an advisors, that's just our job title, but we help people implement that policy on site. Our managers are managing a number of advisors, but they also go out onto site and help implement them policies. We don't really have like headquarters or HQ. We just really we help our regional business units with hitting our legal moral requirements. And like I said, management wise, unless you've got years of experience, you are going to struggle to go straight into that area. Not to say you can't progress quickly from advisor upwards, but to go straight in there, that's genuinely will be a challenge. Yeah.
Okay, and can I ask a question? You don't need to share the information, but can I ask a question just about salary bands? So for example, if we do have an individual that's got 20 years experience over here in the Royal Navy, some of that's in health and safety, it's a good, strong, solid CV. Yeah. If they were looking to transition over, what title would it be? Health and safety manager, assistant health and safety manager? What would the salary bands be, just broadly?
Yeah, so might be similar for Richard, but in house building we're quite above the median. So, for example, someone with no experience, just qualification, package, including car, etc., could be between 30 and 40. And then once you get your experience and you go up, senior advisors could be between 40 and 50, managers 50 and 60, and so on and so forth. But that you're looking at overall package there. So salary, car, pension, private health insurance. So it's very competitive. Just as an example, 28 days annual leave. We've got other share save plans that we can do with the company itself. So yes, sometimes you might look at a salary, not so much with Vistry, but you might look at a salary and think, oh, it's a little bit lower than what I'm on in the military. But you look at your overall package. Just I know it sounds silly, but just having a car provided and completely paid for frees up some spending money, doesn't it? So.
Okay, and one thing, David, that you mentioned was you persevered. So
Yeah.
that was the most striking point of your transition. The placement wasn't clicking, your favoured employer wasn't recruiting, you weren't getting past that first stage of the interview.
Yeah.
So for somebody that's just in the kind of dire straits at the moment, what advice would you give straight to them?
You are going to get setbacks. You might make some networking and make some really good connections, and then it disappears. That just happens because, you know, we're all volunteers. We want to help you as best as I can, but sometimes work gets absolutely mental. So it could accidentally, you can go a couple of days, couple of weeks, and just accidentally be forgotten about. So don't take it personally. Make as many networks as you can. Try and fit in the work placements where you can. You know, and appreciate that you're not always going to build that rapport with your mentor. And if that's the case, just speak to Caroline. If it's not working out for you with that particular person for whatever reason, you know, just speak up, and then something else can get sorted for you. Yeah.
Okay, and you intimated about how wide and vast your department is. So
Yeah.
in the first instance, it's a health and safety role. What does the health aspect of that look like?
So, you know, we're looking at like manual handling, mental health and well-being, construction, unfortunately, high suicide rate. So it's to make sure we have that positive conversations out on site, you know, and speak up when we do see challenge, and, you know, etc. So health, you've got that side of things. That's more about your physical and mental well-being. Safety, we're looking at the overall environment, control measures can we put in place. Then we're taking on a huge responsibility now with our environment. So what is our impact on the environment? That's flora and fauna, that's local residents, noise, mud. What are we doing, you know, going forward, our biodiversity net gain. If we're taking trees down, are we putting the right trees back in? Are we looking after birds, bats, badgers, voles? So there's a whole other things that we do, that you're not just looking at barriers, signage, risk assessments. We're looking at everything on site, near site, around site. You know, and we are getting more and more involved in pre-construction. So talking about measures to put in before we even start work. So the moment we buy a field, that's when we get involved and we start doing our surveys and getting out on site. And then, you know, it's nice to see it when it's fully constructed, people are living in there, and, you know, you've played a small part in that.
Okay, and if somebody is applying for a job at the moment and it's got the health, safety, environmental quality title to the role, that shouldn't put them off, no?
No, because you can learn. You can learn in the industry. So we've got a very good team, probably same with Richard, very good team that you can talk to each other, colleagues. If I don't know something or I need a little bit of support in a particular area I'm not that confident in, I'll speak up with my colleagues. Some of them, we've got some people that have got, they know the cover of that book front to back.
Yeah.
But it might just be in fire safety, but they still need help with lifting operations. So, you know, again, that's where you know where your limits are, and then you can speak to your colleagues that are better at that than you, and it's fantastic. Yeah.
Okay, and Richard, you mentioned as you were speaking about the fast-paced environment that you work with, and if somebody enjoys that, then this health and safety role is going to be right up their alley. What does your working week look like? Are you Monday to Friday? What are your hours?
Yeah, so I work Monday to Friday. Some sites do work Saturday, but they don't expect you to work Saturdays, unless, you know, like I said the other day, is that double time? But they said no, so I said, well, I'm not working Saturdays, so you got to make it worth your while, really. So the sites are open from 7 up through till 6 o'clock. We're on winter months now, but they're still working late, up late. So they're just putting erecting lighting on the site, so they're still able to work. So I arrive on site around between 7:30, 7 in the morning. So I'm leaving the house around 6 o'clock, and then I'm getting back around 5:30, 6 o'clock in the evening. So it's a 12-hour day. the pace is a lot different to what I was used to in the RAF, because I spent my last 2 years obviously doing the apprenticeship, and then a lot of the time watching the clock count down, and so it took some adjusting, but I thoroughly enjoy it. I think it's fantastic. It's such a great industry to be in, and the people you work with, especially the site personnel, the construction lads, it's very much like the military. The attitudes, the banter, it's very, very much like it. So you might go into first day I walked into the briefing room, I got nicknamed Brill Cream because I was in the RAF. So it's little things. Then there's a lot of ex-military in the industry. So every site I go to, I'm bumping into someone who's in the ex-military, and you end up talking to them. You build your rapport, you build your relationships with people, and it is really good. It's fantastic, actually.
And you're studying your level 6 MVQ, you said. Is that a job requirement, or is that something that you proposed?
No, it's not a job requirement at all. It's something I took on prior to the interview process, to when I wanted to push my CV out. I mean, ideally in my head I wanted to start it before I pushed my CV out. So I put it on my CV as on there as working towards. So I'm working towards my level 6 in health and safety. So it looks like you're being proactive, at the same time as still being in the military. You're doing an apprenticeship. You're doing your MVQ. You're building your CV up. You're building your knowledge, and for me, the interview, I was quite lucky. I was a bit different to David. I was quite lucky with how it worked out for me. I started the process early. So as soon as my two-year point, so 20-year point, I had 2 years from resettlement. I started it early. I got going with it as soon as possible, really. So I spent 12 months with David and the team, and even putting 12 months construction experience. They don't know, the people that interview you don't know that you're only going two days a month. You just have to put down 12 months experience. They see you're doing that as well as your full-time job. So your personality comes out on paper from that point.
And one thing that Belforce kind of prides itself on is our nutrition rates. So 97% of all our candidates that come into construction stay there. Yeah. So, but being able to do that means that we have to ensure that the candidates' eyes are wide open. They know what they're getting into. They're having conversations like this. They're getting out on site to test whether it's for them or not. So just in terms of transparency and visibility, what are the pitfalls? What are the downsides of the role of the industry?
I'd say the hours. The hours you're working, but they are manageable. Like David said, you're not micromanaged. I could go on site and do my site inspections, and then come 2 o'clock, I could be on the car driving home. But I've got the work ethic where I want to stay on site. I still want to engage. Don't get me wrong. I'm very early into my career in construction. I can't be seen to be back on the motorway at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when the sites are still open. So I have to, if you're doing your work, and you're enjoying it, that's great. Pitfalls, yes, hours are long. If you do live away, the commute can be long, but be very careful, be very mindful of where you're applying for the jobs for. If for me, I gave myself an hour commute either way for when I was applying. Anything over an hour, I think personally I'd struggle with, especially with home life as well. So you have to weigh it up and see what works for you personally. Everybody's different.
Mm-hmm. And David, any comments to that?
Yeah, this one sounds crazy, but the confrontation can be quite challenging. On a day-to-day basis, when you're having to stop works, you're stopping production. And when people are paid on price, they need to be productive to achieve their money. But unfortunately, and rightly so, safety does have to come first above production. So yeah, sometimes when you're stopping a subcontractor from working unsafely, it can lead to confrontation. Not physical, it's just verbal, but that can be quite daunting sometimes if you're not comfortable in that environment, and it could prevent you from stopping works if you think they're going to be confrontational. So yeah, that can be quite difficult. But again, it's just how you approach them people when it happens. You don't shout, "Oi, you're doing it wrong." It's about constructive engagement. Talk to them, explain what you see appears dangerous. Should you be doing this correctly? Can we do it a little bit different? And 9 times out of 10, most of the time, everyone's a bit like, yeah, you're right, mate. I was chasing this or whatever. But sometimes that person could be having a bad day. You don't know what's going on, and you catch them at that wrong time. They're on a ladder. They're doing something dodgy on a scaffolding or something.
Yeah.
And that can sometimes be confrontational, but the rest of it it's good. It's tough, it's challenging. One thing I enjoy about it is you can see progress because the things in front of you are being made.
Yeah.
So yes, it's difficult, sometimes it can be hard, but before you know, 3 months has gone past, you turn around and we've got an entire estate that's lived in. You think, oh, let's go again. So yeah, the site managers, adrenaline, yeah. Richard came on to a few jobs. There's some top blokes, isn't there, in Vistry, on some of the jobs, yeah. So working with them, helping them, and handing over that quality product at the end, even though I don't build it, but to contribute, it is quite nice, yeah.
Quite rewarding. One or two final questions. IOSH membership, are either of you?
Mine changed when I was applying for jobs at the very beginning. The return on engagement changed when I achieved grad IOSH. So once I became a graduate member of IOSH, people could see that I was already had a level 6 or higher, and it goes on to show that you've got you're continuing your professional development. So yes, it might seem it's another thing, but to separate you from the hundreds of other CVs, to show that you've got ongoing professional development, which it is every day learning, IOSH will help you in that aspect.
Okay, I hope that answers your question as well, Terence. Right, well, listen, thank you to both Richard and David for their incredible contribution today. Two amazing individuals. The transition from the armed forces to a career in safety will keep you on your feet and give you the challenge that many of you are looking for. We've got exceptional employers today from SB3 over on HS2 and from Vistry, so a shout out to them for continuing to be excellent ambassadors supporting our armed forces. Remember, you are not alone. Belforce are here to support, so get registered, reach out to Caroline. We will guide you as you transition, and we are here to answer all your questions. So I'm wishing you all a very Merry Christmas and a fantastic Hogmanay, and I'll pass back to Caroline for final insights.
Thanks, Angela. So just a final note to me. First of all, chaps, thank you so much. I knew that would be great. And as always, thank you for your support. But just a final comment from me is it is down to timing. You can engage well with an employer, but if the opportunity isn't there, it's not there. But keep in touch with them, because if you've done well on that work placement, you're in their minds. So keep in touch with them. We have another guy actually from Vistry, Royal Marine, who just kept going back to his site manager, and finally he got that role because the opening came up. He was great, and he's on site and he's progressing, he's accelerating brilliantly. So keep that contact. Like David said, they're busy, they're not ignoring you, they're just busy. So it's up to you to drive it. Okay, so this is a wrap for 2022. It's been a great year. Can't believe I'm saying that. We're going into another year. I'll be another year older. My birthday's on Christmas Day. So as you're eating your turkey, give me a thought. So we will be finalising 2023 calendar next week. So that will be live on our events page either by the end of the year or at the latest January. So please keep an eye out for our activities for next year. That will include 2 of our face-to-face insight days, one in London, April I'm thinking, and October will be in the north. So keep an eye out for that, and of course we'll have many virtual career chats with some of our employers as well as our disciplines. So have a wonderful festive season, and we will see you on the other side. And if you need our support, we will still be monitoring our info account, so please get in touch. Don't be alone. Christmas isn't great for everyone, I know that, so please don't be alone, just reach out. Thanks all. Have a great
everyone.
time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Merry Christmas. Have a nice New Year.
Thank you.